one of the ghosts that we've been wrestling with, that I've certainly been wrestling with, is, I'm extremely proud of the production of Cat that we did a couple years ago, and people really liked it, and I'm very very proud of that. But I got approached a lot by people leading up to the Streetcar process saying, "Well, Cat, I don't know how you're going to top that," which was so flattering, but also completely debilitating to think, my God, what do we do with Cat? Because it was such a successful production. Um, Christopher Acebo and I, the set designer, like we did when we started on Cat, we were interested in approaching this, creating a space that was simultaneously realistic and metaphorical, like we did with Cat. Cat is felt like, and I don't mean to be reductive here in any way or potentially sexist, but Cat had in its design and in its world a sort of deliberately more female energy in terms of, it was a set without edge, without sort of angles, and there was that oval track of the curtain, and we deliberately, there was a lot of fabric on the set. We deliberately wanted to create sort of a traditionally softer world. It was white, very much of its period. When we looked at Streetcar, Christopher and I were struck by how the world is very male. There's a very masculine energy in this play, into which you thrust this ultra sort of definition of Southern femininity, who is Blanche, and how does she survive or not in this world. So we've created a world which is very angular, very dark. It's almost entirely, a black set, monochromatic. Lots of sharp edges. In a sense of sort of compression rather than expansiveness. I think we are also very mindful of, and I certainly am mindful of, the fact that Tennessee wrote these plays at two very different points in his career. Streetcar came sort of a few years after the huge success of Glass Menagerie, and was a huge success, completely revolutionized Broadway, and rightly so considered one of the classics of the 20th century. Cat came after that. Cat came, 8 years after, at a time when he desperately needed a hit, and he deliberately set out to create a more conventionally structured play with Cat. So Cat is an extraordinary play, but Streetcar is more, I think, is a little more expansive. It gets a little weirder. It gets a little more experimental, and it's certainly an uglier play. I mean, it's a violent play, and it's a violent play. There are physical acts of violence in this play that there were not in Cat, and the level of emotional violence that happens in Streetcar is a little bit like, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof time to the 10th power. I mean, it's just it's a disturbing play, rightly so. I think also he was writing Streetcar in 1946-47, right at the end of the war. The first bomb had just been dropped. It was a world that was in a very different place than the world of 1954-55 when he wrote Cat. So it's an edgier, more anxious place, the New Orleans of Streetcar.